We have a very, very, very interesting person to chat with today. Somebody who is in my own backyard. We have Caza Gomez. Caza, did I pronounce that correctly? Gomez?
How's it go, Mies?
Gomis, thank you. I apologize.
You're good. You're good.
Caza, yeah, give it the old junior college try. I want to welcome Caza today and talk about truly the ultimate career trajectory from operator to innovator. Every veteran in this room is a high level individual. Everyone here has executed and solved problems in crisis and really outsized the results all the way around. And this individual here is a true example of high stakes world of technical entrepreneurship. He began his career as a recon Marine where failure was not an option and resourcefulness and survival. Following that, he didn't just earn a degree, he earned cum laude degree in psychology from University of Colorado. Go Buffs, giving him a deep understanding of human behavior and motivation. But here's where the narrative really gets unique. He took those skills and really became a technical polymath. He was a lead electrician, welder, and plumber. He founded Caza Build, specializing in DIY van conversions, a big thing out here. And now he is the founder and CEO of Trek Systems, a visionary company providing electricity connectivity and controls for mobile, off-grid, and remote environments. He's building a true future of autonomous power and driven by the warrior's mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Recon Marine, CU graduate, and CEO and founder of Trek Systems, Caza Gomez. Thank you very much for joining us today, sir. Greatly appreciate you. And I like to start it out honestly, brother. Tell us your origin story. Tell us your Marvel origin story. What led you to the Marine Corps and becoming a Recon Marine?
Well, yeah. Thanks for that intro, Clay. That's probably the best intro I've ever got. Um,
I aim to
and
please,
uh,
brother.
yeah, I mean, Marine Corps. I wanted to get out of my hometown. I wanted to go on an adventure, and I kind of got infantry in my mind. That's what I went to the recruiter with. I said, sign me up for infantry, and he was a combat engineer. He loved that field, and he tried to convince me to go that route. But I was really stubborn, and I said, if you don't give me infantry, then I'm headed next door to the army. And then that's when he mentioned there's this reconnaissance contract. If I don't make it through that pipeline, then I'll get sent to infantry and I'll get what I wanted anyways. But if I do, then I get to be a bit more specialized. And so I said, well, I better learn how to swim.
That BRC course definitely is rough for sure, but coming out on top, everything. I mean, I worked with a lot of recon Marines, and you guys are always the great ones to work with. Some of the SEALs, yeah, but that's for another conversation. But I kind of wanted to kick it off. Thanks for the intro. Are you Colorado native or are you?
No, no, I'm originally from Florida, right outside of Tampa.
Okay,
And
fantastic. Okay.
yeah, that's where I joined from. I went back there after I got out for a couple of years, but realized I prefer the mountains to the beach.
I'm a kid from Boston and I kind of went down the same career path with the army, so I definitely get it for sure. But recon to CEO crossover, you mastered the concepts of minimal viable missions and achieving objectives. How did you apply that philosophy into your initial product development and really kicking off Trek Systems? What was that significant military discipline that you built on to build the culture that you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways it's I mean initiative, taking the initiative to just get started, taking the initiative, attention to detail and understanding how important those little details really are. And then really just resilience, resilience. Anyone who's served in the military, I'm sure they've experienced things that require us to tap into that resilience. And in business, I mean that's no different. Day to day, if something doesn't work, okay, well, what's the next? How are we going to make it work? Where do we got to shift next? And so yeah, those three things for sure. Many others, as well, but those are the three that are top of mind.
Love it, 100%. The background that you have is rare. You recon marine psychology degree from CU, yet you're a master electrician, a welder. For veterans that are looking to enter in these highly technical trades or industries, what would be your recommendation certification wise and sort of pathways to kind of get into there and grow themselves and develop that layer of leadership?
Probably the biggest thing is just being curious and doing the best you can at whatever you decide to do. And I graduated with a degree in psychology. Originally, I mean, I decided on that discipline just because of my personal interest in it when I got out of the military and trying to figure out what do I want to do long term. And I considered following that path, either going down the PhD route and working in higher education research and things of that nature, potentially opening my own clinic. These are all ideas I had, and luckily, while I was in school, that cum laude that came from working in labs and getting that experience as a research assistant and kind of understanding what that entails. And I'm really glad I did, because that informed a lot of stuff for me, and it was really clear that that wasn't quite the direction that I wanted to go, in terms of being a professional psychologist or working in that field professionally. I think a lot of what I learned in school has helped in business and with customer interfacing and all kinds of decision making. But yeah, that hopefully kind of helps shed some light on how I decided on that path, how I moved away from it in some ways, and still utilize a lot of what I learned in others.
Love it, 100%. There are people here that are sort of interested in starting up their own business and how to really kind of develop it. I want to talk about the psychology of the sale. When you were at Noom as a head coach, the role was heavily resilient on motivational interviewing and behavioral sciences. How do you, as the CEO of this organization, Truck Systems, use that principle of behavioral psychology to close these B2B sales for Trek? And what's a two-sentence psychological term that veterans should use to describe their ability to influence team behavior?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really good question, and you've drawn that's a parallel in terms of my experience at Noom as a health coach. Prior to that, I worked as a personal trainer, and the motivational interviewing piece, that's something that is heavily based on psychology. It's a practice in psychology to help others arrive at decisions or work through different challenges that they might have, and identify themselves ways to overcome those challenges. And when somebody identifies that, they've got more skin in the game. They are going to likely be more committed to whatever solution it is they've arrived at, and it's probably going to be more relevant because they're the ones to have voiced, hey, this is the issue. Okay, what? And motivational interviewing, it's just going down the path of just asking questions. It's active listening closely, and then asking questions that help inform the conversation and move it forward, instead of offering advice, for example. And when it comes to sales, the I think the thing that has led to success, or is the most useful means of the most useful tool in my sales toolkit, is this motivational interviewing piece, which it's not necessarily fully structured around motivational interviewing or anything like that, but it does take elements from motivational interviewing, mostly the active listening and the questioning, right? When it comes to sales, you want to close your mouth, open up your ears, listen as much as you can about what they're actually experiencing. And then based on that, you can either ask questions or every now and then maybe share something about why or how your organization, the services that you offer, can fit into, the solution that they might need, for whatever it is that they're dealing with or trying to solve. So yeah, the listening and asking questions.
Love it, 100%. There's a few logistics specialists here, so I know this question is going to really keen their interest, and I'm looking at one of them on the screen right now. This off-grid pivot that we're starting to see a lot of, particularly out here in Colorado, many veterans successfully land roles in traditional logistics jobs. Your company focuses on a high-growth niche, off-grid and remote environment. For veterans with a logistics background, what are the three most critical emerging technical terms or concepts that you think that they should add to their resume to pivot into energy and remote connective sectors?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know that I don't know that I have a direct answer to that, but from our standpoint in terms of on the logistical side of things, being able to learn new platforms and different software, you don't need to know it all, but having that ability to go and learn, identifying some of the platforms out there that are being used and getting familiar with those and how they differ, and then also, within our organization, we use Slack for internal communication. We use some other software for, project management, task management type things. And it's a lot more than like Microsoft Word, And so
Yeah,
like having experience with Word or with the Google Suite, Google Drive, Google Sheets, Docs, all of that stuff, and just like having that kind of, computer savvy, that's going to go a long ways when it comes to, support in logistics. I'm not an expert in logistics, right? By any means, we are a technical distributor, so we carry this equipment on the shelves and we get it out, and we put a lot of the other thing, I guess, when it comes to logistics, that is a really important talking point if you are interviewing for a position, or whatever it might be, is this SOPs, having having military experience, being familiar with SOPs. That's going to go a long way in the civilian world, because logistics, no matter what, unless you have the proper SOPs, your logistics aren't going to amount to much. They're not. You're going to keep running into different issues. SOPs are the foundation of any real solid kind of logistical operation.
absolutely. And, logistics is key, especially where you're at, being right off of I-70, right on Dahlia. I mean, get in, get out, get it all done, and try not to get sucked with all the good food that's all the way around there.
Mhm.
I do want to take a little bit of time and have you talk about, Trek Systems and, you building this scalable tech company that you're trying to do here. Feel free to, talk about the company, but, talk about your culture and the operational difference between, time for money and product for equity. But really, quite frankly, just go ahead and talk about what you do overall.
Yeah, you guys had mentioned a slide deck. I put together a few slides. Is now a good time to pull that
Absolutely.
up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. If you want to go ahead and take it away, yeah, I can sit there and go on with 100 questions, but this time's for you, sir.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have. If the slide deck, later is good, but I think this kind of informs it, and so we can go
Go.
back to questions,
Yeah. Go right ahead,
as they
man.
come up. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yep.
Cool. So the Trek Systems, uh, we specialize in energy, connectivity, and controls in off-grid and remote environments. We are a technical distributor in these domains. right? So this is the logistical piece. This is keeping it on the shelves, and the fulfillment piece, getting it out to those who need it. But we're also a systems engineering and design firm. So we start by understanding the challenges or the outcomes that our customers want to accomplish. And then we leverage our expertise with this technology to build solutions. And well, our mission statement, that speaks to this as well. And we have this and our company principles published on our website. That's trek.systems. And well, a few key values at our company that I'll shout out are, strong communication, both internally and with our customers, growth mindset, and just continual, improvement, and initiative and attention to detail. So a little bit about kind of where we are today and some of the growth that we've seen. So we were recognized in 2025 for the Inc. 5000, America's fastest growing companies. And we placed number 507 out of 5,000 across the nation, number 8 in Colorado, and number 6 in energy. We also made the VET 100 list, which that's a part of an organization called the IVMF, the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. I've worked very closely with them and done some of their programs, and that's a great organization to check out as well. But yeah, we're really proud of these accomplishments. But we couldn't have done it without kind of the team that we have here, including myself. Today we are a team of 10, and in order to achieve this with such a small team, we've all got to be A players. So that's when we hire, we do so very slowly to make sure that we're finding someone that's the right fit for our company, for our culture, and for the role. Real quick, I wanted to kind of call out this release that we did, and I thought that it would sort of help inform a little more about what we do. And so you see two photos here. The photo on the left side, both of these photos are examples of the equipment, the different components that might fit into an energy system. And so when you talk about an energy system, a lot of people think solar. You don't see any solar panels here. That's just one part of a system, right? A solar panel. You have a solar charger that takes power from that solar panel. You have and converts it so that it's usable. You have an inverter that will take power from a battery bank and convert it to be usable for household appliances. You have different bus bars and monitoring equipment, different things, right? So when it comes to building an energy system, there are a number of pieces involved. And on the left-hand side, that's pretty typical in terms of what it looks like, right? There are pieces scattered on a wall. You got wire running, from each component. And so we designed on the right-hand side with our logo there, that's a bracket. That's a bracket. It's a metal bracket that fits over top of this inverter, this big blue box. And it allows you to get all of the pieces in place. They're more consolidated. It fits into a tighter spot. You can build this on a bench and then plug it in instead of having to build it on site on a wall or whatever it might be. So this allows us, it's one example, and there are a few other ways that we accomplish this, but this is one example of a rapid deployable energy system where we can sell the bracket in and of itself so that an OEM or some other professional can use that to build their system in a nice tight way. But in-house, we also pre-wire it, pre-program it, and send it out tested so that it's ready to deploy. And so if someone doesn't have the expertise or the time or the interest in building one of these systems themselves, we can build it for you and ship it out. And we'll see if this plays here. Can you guys hear this?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, that's all right. We don't need the audio. That doesn't really matter. But this is a real quick example of a commercial we put together for it. And with this is like 30 seconds. I just thought it would showcase kind of our style a little bit, maybe. And something we're pretty proud of. We put a lot of time. This is like a year plus of effort in building this bracket, and then putting this commercial was a task in and of itself, also.
That's remarkable how you're able to take all of that and put it into that one singular modular. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a big deal. It's been well received. We just launched it like a month ago, and it's there's nothing else like it, on the market. So that we're excited to be able to kind of innovate in this space. Let me talk really quick about the position that we have open right now. So we're looking for an operations specialist. And it says it right here on the slide, but I'll read it out. We're seeking a proactive, organized, and reliable individual to support with procurement, vendor coordination, inventory management, and fulfillment operations. Here's a couple examples of the responsibilities of that role: assist with purchase orders and vendor communication, monitor inventory levels and reorder thresholds, conduct vendor outreach for pricing, product availability, and lead times, maintain product and vendor data across inventory management and e-commerce systems, update and maintain internal SOPs. And some more details about the position. Starting salary would be between 48 and 52K annually. There would be training in business operations and renewable energy systems. So besides being a technical distributor and design engineering firm, we also hold training events quarterly where we have 20 to 30 professionals. They travel from all over the country to our facility here in Denver to learn how to do this, to learn how to put these systems together. And so, you'd be welcome to join us for that training and learn, more about, how these systems work. Um, of course, opportunities for advancement as we are, growing, and there's no sign of that growth. It's not going to stall anytime soon. And then we've got, I think some pretty good benefits here: 401k with matching, PTO plus paid holidays, and then the work hours 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We are looking for someone at least close by to Denver. This would be a hybrid remote position. So probably at least 2 to 3 days in office, and then a couple days work from home per week. And yeah, that's all I got for my slide deck.
Yeah. And I mean, that individual obviously is going to need to know the Vicron professional courses and wiring unlimited and things like that as well in order to make sure
No,
that.
no, not
Not
necessarily,
really?
not necessarily.
Okay.
No, not necessarily. So, the thing that matters, I think, most for this position is, well, the ability to learn, right?
Yeah.
Like pick things up quickly, having, the culture fit, having the attention to detail, the initiative, the communication skills, right? And having some experience in operations or logistics is good. But if you have these other things, if you have these other soft skills that aren't as easy to train, we can train you on, the way we operate, the platforms we use, our SOPs, all that stuff. And then the Victron professional that Clay mentioned, and some of these other this other coursework, that's something that down the line, sure, if that's if you're wanting to really learn about these energy systems, and to some extent that will be important because you'll be involved in procurement, understanding what the different products do, and being able to read a data sheet and identify, is this the appropriate product. Of course, you'd have engineers double checking and making sure that it is, let's say we're looking at a particular breaker or a switch or whatever it might be. It's like, okay, I'm going to go, or whoever's in this role is going to go do some research, identify, okay, what do I think might be, some of the best options, and then an engineer would look it over and confirm. So like, that's in terms of like technical, that's probably about as technical as it would get. And otherwise it would be more of the logistical operations.
I had a feeling, Ty, that you were going to raise your hand, and Roy, I already know that you got a question circling in your head already. Ty, go ahead. What do you got for him, sir?
Sir, this sounds like an amazing opportunity for me. I loved your pitch. I'm actually looking to relocate to Colorado Springs. I have a house near the Air Force Academy. I have an extensive background in human resources executive administration, working in operational units. And if I would really like the opportunity to talk to you offline and see if this is something that I could potentially move forward with, even during my skill bridge. And it's something I can start today. Leave Arlington, Virginia, and be there to work, sir.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I appreciate you shouting that out, and I'm sure Clay will connect us.
Oh, absolutely, 1000%. Roy, I can hear it from Colorado, sir. I can hear the hamster. You got a question for him?
No, not necessarily. The system was great. I thought it was awesome. It seems like it's very on its brink of, in its peak. It's going to only get bigger. It's very innovative. It's just an area that unfortunately I don't plan on moving to Denver, but I sure wish I was that situation because I think you got a great thing going, and I can only see that your business is only going to go up and it's only going to get bigger. So that's good. That's good for you. Happy for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Roy.
I got a few people side chatting me right now. Yes, I have dropped in Caza's LinkedIn profile into the chat as well as Trek Systems web page as well. Ultimately, you seem like you're trying to disrupt a little bit the market that's out there already. Is that your intention, or are you just really just trying to develop out that product to make life easier for everyone to scale out their electrical systems and that modularity functionality?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to business, if you can identify an opportunity to disrupt, a viable opportunity, then of course there's the potential for big upside in that. And with this, I think disruption. There's some possible disruption. I think the biggest way that manifests is through the other thing that you mentioned here is just making it easier for an end user or for an OEM or a professional to integrate this equipment. And you've got like Tesla Powerwalls and different things that are out there that are more on the kind of residential commercial side. Our focus here is more so mobile. And so that's, anything from camper vans and RVs to other specialty vehicles like the Red Cross blood mobiles and emergency response mission, command centers and things of that nature that require an energy solution that's not just a generator. Our technology, the technology we work with, it is in many cases it's used to either replace or supplement generator usage. And so, as we've seen in California, they've had different legislation that's starting to restrict the use of generators, just because a lot of times it's not
Yeah.
efficient. It's not great for the environment, and there are a number of reasons for that legislation, but this is a means of either replacing a generator or supplementing it and making it to where the generator runs a lot less frequently, uses a lot less fuel, and requires a lot less maintenance. So pretty much any application that you would use a generator, there's a good chance that a system like what I showed in the video there could help improve that overall system and the efficiency of it. But that all comes from questioning how can we make life easier or better for our customer base, right? And so that's got to be kind of the driving, the true north as you decide on what to pursue. And if you're developing products, how to prioritize and what to consider during that product development cycle. It all has to be driven by what are the real customer needs out there, and that starts with talking with customers and being very close, having your finger on the pulse with what's happening and what's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a client here who works for Richmond America, and he was actually talking about that about a month and a half ago about all the California legislation. And immediately when you were talking about generators and everything like that, I was thinking about the fire that happened because of that Excel Energy box that happened on my side of town a couple of years ago, and how people were without power for so
Mm,
long, and they were living out of vans and stuff because of all
mm.
of that. So there really is something. I'm surprised you're not banging down the doors of Denver Health, chasing the ambulance and saying, I got that. I'm just kidding. But any other questions before I continue on, guys? Anybody got any questions for Caza? Nothing? Okay. So with that, I mean, there's a huge, you're going to grow. We know that you're going to grow. And obviously, Trek Systems is sitting at the nexus of energy and connectivity. Looking ahead in the next 5 years, besides, generalized coding, what valuable hard skill do you think veterans who see an opportunity in this career field should they be prioritizing today in these high tech sectors?
Mm. Well, if you're looking at, I mean, whether it's the energy industry or the connectivity industry, system controls industries, those are kind of the three verticals that we specialize in. Um, but within all of those, there's a kind of a common theme in that uh, there's hardware needed, and that hardware is developed by embedded engineers. So, if you look at embedded systems and learn kind of, I mean, you'll once you start to look into what products out there today, you know, are related to embedded systems engineering in one way or another, you'll be amazed at how prevalent that is. And so yeah, as far as technology is involved, on the hardware side of things, embedded systems would be definitely a very valuable skill. And then, of course, I'm sure you guys hear this all the time, but AI, understanding how to work with AI and how to leverage it, right? Because I think there's a danger now for those, maybe growing up with AI, leaning on it too much, potentially in school and different things like that, to where it prevents them from, or maybe it could hinder their critical thinking development. But if you are a critical thinker, the um, the ability to use AI to to arrive at decisions, or arrive at, hey, what are just other things I should be considering here. um yeah, I mean, just very, very powerful.
That actually brings up a really good conversation. We had a bunch of tech people on yesterday. Yesterday was Army Day. Oh, John, I was waiting for you to raise your hand. Go right ahead, brother. This is John. I would pay attention to everything that he's got to say, because this is a guy you would like working for, John.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Clay, and thank you, sir, for coming on with us today. I have I'm a little curious in the energy sector. And my question for you is, do you think that as a country we're going to shift our grid to solar and nuclear, let's say 10, 20 years down the line?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think, nuclear there is, I'm not a specialist in nuclear by any means, but everything that I've heard, and from my understanding, that seems like a very viable, a piece of the puzzle, right? I think what's most important is that we establish a energy independence here in the U.S. Right now. The solar is reliant on energy storage, right? Like it was having solar, that's not going to do a whole lot for grid resilience and without having energy storage in place. And currently, the vast majority of energy storage is being developed in China. Lithium iron phosphate batteries, that's probably the most common energy storage application or platform today is lithium iron phosphate. So identifying and there's a lot of smart people working on identifying a alternative to lithium iron phosphate for energy storage. And so I think that's going to be a really key factor here. We keep a really close eye on that as well. I mean, one of our primary products is energy storage and lithium batteries. And in terms of what they've done to replace lead acid batteries is incredible. In recent years, the price has gone down. There's so many benefits to use lithium batteries, and the safety has improved dramatically to where now it's not really much of a concern. And as long as the system's designed properly and installed by a professional and all of these things. So yeah, it's a great question, and I don't think there's any way around it. With AI and the energy required for powering these data centers, there's going to have to be an alternative to coal and some of these other forms of energy production. Right now, solar makes up a small percentage of what's produced in the U.S., but that's growing. It grows every year, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Bringing up coal, I just heard a bunch of people in Leadville faint on what you just said right there. You brought up AI, and we had the president of Forward Edge AI on here yesterday, and then somebody else as well. Where do you personally see AI improving the energy market 5, 10, 15 years from now, besides, like what Tesla and Elon Musk is doing and everyone else sort of in the high-tech space? Where do you see AI really being able to improve that market?
Yeah, I think the development of these energy storage solutions, I think, will be heavily influenced by AI. Identifying different chemical compounds and ways in which to design, engineer these alternative energy storage solutions. AI is going to have a big hand in that, I'm sure. But also, from a grid resilience perspective, management of the resources available, and management between different utilities or microgrids and things of that nature, and making that as resilient as possible.
John just threw into the chat, I'm thinking AI could be used, if not already, in certain monitoring or gathering of systems in the energy sector. I can tell you right now that our energy supplier out here in Colorado, John, does use an AI platform. And that fire I mentioned earlier was because the AI was not monitoring it correctly. So that is something I did want to bring up. I do want to kind of pivot a little bit more and talk about your IVMF ambassadorship. When you're building these entrepreneurial bridges, what is the most under scrutinized or underutilized resource or network that veteran job seekers fail to access? And what specific high impact questions should they ask when they're engaging those resources?
Yeah, the IVMF, that organization, they do a number of things, from supporting entrepreneurship and veteran startups or military connected startups for that matter, military spouses or even children of parents who were in the military. All of them have a place in the IVMF, and it's a combination of entrepreneurship as well as just career development. And so the IVMF has some programs that as a veteran are available to you at no cost for developing your skill set across different industries.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about veteran hiring, because obviously, minus you and I, everyone out there is looking to hit the civilian market. Like, what are some of the things that you, coming from, being the recon Marine and outside the box thinker that you are, that they should be thinking about when they're applying to jobs, things that they should be thinking about when they're interviewing? Like, what are some of the non-common things that you would recommend anyone here that they should be doing, saying, speaking, anything like that?
Well,
I'm known for good questions. I apologize.
yeah, it's great questions. And I guess, the biggest thing that comes to mind is, earlier on, I mean, when you get out of the military, it's, potentially your experience in the military will help inform, what career path you pursue. In my case, reconnaissance, an infantry-based, MOS. I didn't really want to pursue security or, like physical security or things that like what I learned, would directly inform, say, a leg up and being, chosen for a position, right? I think much of the experience I had as a reconnaissance Marine has informed my ability to move into some of the fields and the things that I've explored. And I think the thread though is exploration and knowing like that it's okay. I mean, I'm the I'm a perfect example of this idea of like, hey, I wasn't really quite sure when I got out what I wanted to do. I studied psychology. I worked as a personal trainer. I worked as a health coach, and I made the decision that psychology, that's not the profession that I want to pursue. While I was in school, I also got a job working at a camper construction company building teardrop campers. And I did that mainly because I wanted to build out my own camper van. And I was like, look, I've got the electrical experience, and so that I was able to get a job because of that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I was going and every couple of weeks asking, hey, are you hiring yet? Are you hiring yet? But I found this company that I wanted to work for, and I was persistent with letting them know, hey, I want a job here, whatever opens up. Because at that point, once I got in there, I was able to do the electrical, but then also get my hands on the welding and the plumbing and the carpentry, and just explore and identify what do I like, where's my skill set at naturally, what do I want, what do I like learning about, and could potentially shift into as a profession. And throughout that, lucky for me, and I think it's probably also because of my experience with electrical from a young age, that's the space that these other things, they were great to learn, and I was able to build a camper van with those skills that I learned. But the electrical is what really kept me excited, and what I was best at. And so I identified that and decided to just go all in on that. And originally I considered maybe starting a camper van company, building, but the electrical, like that's what I was good at. And I was like, so that's what I should focus on. And not just that's what I was good at, that's what I enjoyed. And I don't think you can be really good at something unless there is a level of enjoyment. So try to find something, and don't be afraid to explore, but try to find something that you enjoy doing, because that's gonna stand the test of time. in terms of getting into a career and doing your best work. Because whatever you decide to pursue, if you're not invested and really trying to do your best at it, then you're just going to be mediocre at it. And yeah, you might find a job that pays well enough, but that's not going to be as fulfilling as finding something that you enjoy and are excited to do well.
I love it. I love it. John, go ahead and ask your question. And just side note for anybody, because I have a few people, you don't need my permission. Just go ahead and raise your hand.
Well, that really resonated with me. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, right? I definitely I live by that. And my question for you, sir, is what was your biggest challenge when starting your business? I'm what's the word? Words are hard. I'm considering entrepreneurship, and I just wanted your input on that.
Yeah, I think I mean there's a couple challenges. One is definitely financial, and I had saved some money and was able to really dive in. But I'll be honest, in the beginning, it wasn't just all out and focused on the business. After I left the job that I had a salary at, it was whatever I could do to get some money. I remember so I had a camp. I actually still have this camper van, and I'm able to remove the bed and open it up to where I've got a lot of storage space in the back. And so I'd post on Craigslist and say, like, hey, I'd look for people that were looking for movers, or I posted. I was like, hey, I can help you move. I've got a van. This is my rate. And just like odd jobs, I worked as a handyman for a while, and I'd be asked to do things that I'd never done. And so also having the confidence to like try something new, try something you haven't done before. I mean, it's a balance though, because you got to know your limits. And with these systems in particular, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, there's a lot of people out there that might install some of this equipment. They don't have the training. They haven't. They don't know what they don't know, and so there is danger in people that watch a couple videos and think they can do this, and now all of a sudden there's something not quite right in the system. But so I don't want to go too far down that tangent, but it's just finding the balance between having the confidence to like try something new, go outside of your comfort zone, but also trying to understand where your limitations are and being able to say no if it's like, hey, this is something that I don't have the training for yet, or I don't quite feel confident in doing. Um, yeah, and then just like not getting caught up on perfection, because don't let I think the saying's like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, something along those lines, right? And it's like the idea is, when it comes to starting a business, it's easy to get, a little caught up in, the planning and the business plan and, all these other things. And now it's a year later and you haven't made a sale. And a business doesn't exist without a sale. So yeah, I mean, you've got to like whatever the service or the product is, there's got to be a market fit for it. That's kind of a given. There's also got to be sales, and in order for that to happen, you just got to get out there and do it. Don't be afraid to do.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that input and feedback.
Yeah, 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 sure thing.
That actually leads me to a good question for you and for some of the more conventional people here. Obviously, we're all veterans, and veterans and people in the military thrive on clarity of command. But you really nailed it that the business world thrives on ambiguity, constant change. For a veteran who has a strong background and structure, how would you coach them to embrace that ambiguous nature of strategic growth or lack of defined hierarchy in a startup? And which is necessary for what skills necessary for a high growth company, like yours?
Mm. Adaptability. Adaptability is number one because it's we all wear a lot of hats here, and any startup, that's very likely going to be the case. Is there's a lot of hats, and you might be needed in one area that's not your primary area, and being able to adapt and ask the questions to you know follow through on that, and be successful in the role as a whole. It's yeah, definitely this adaptability piece, and also like in terms of growth with a startup. And I've had this conversation with a number of our people who I try to be as transparent as possible in my leadership and management style, and we'll take this role, for example, of business operations. It's like, where's the next rung? Hey, today I don't have an exact next rung, right? Fully defined, but as we grow, that will be defined. And the cool thing, I think it's a cool thing, and maybe everybody might not. Some people, really prefer the guardrails, and having that clarity on exactly what's next. But what I think is really cool about working in a startup environment is that growth can be informed by you, by whoever is in that role or whoever's in that position, and where yeah, it's a matter of kind of where the business is going and what the needs are, but it's also, I think, equally a matter of how you grow into the role, where your skill sets are, where your interest is, right? And like these things all kind of inform what's the next position for you with this team.
Love it, 100%. The one thing that a lot of veterans do struggle with is that time to decompress, and things to be able to get away from it and turn their brain off and things like that. I kind of know what the answer is going to be on this, but I wanted to get what you do in your off time. What are you doing to flip the switch or level down to sort of decompress after a long work day or a long work week?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying that if you're considering entrepreneurship, know that eventually you'll find maybe more balance, but it's unlikely that you'll ever get as much balance as working for a company, right? That it's a lot more defined. The hours are defined. When you're off, you can be more off. Whereas with owning a business, running a business, that's not the case. It's your weekdays, it's your weekends, it's your evenings after, and uh, so like that's my experience. And I think any business that's going to succeed, especially a startup like that, you have to go in knowing that there's not going to be much balance if you want to be successful. Now, if what I will say though is something that I've struggled with, and have it's gone through waves, but I'm in a good place today with it, and I feel very confident that fitness is something that you cannot sacrifice, whether you're working at a company or running, a business of your own. Physical fitness, that's something that, and sleep. Try not to get into this mentality of, hey, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I can get by with 5 hours of sleep. It's just not true. It's just not true. It's gonna take a toll on your work, and on your life in general. And so if there's one thing, in terms of balance, it's like making sure you're getting at least, that 7 to 8 hours of sleep. But the other thing is physical fitness, because yeah, I mean, mental health, that's very important, and I'm aware of that. But sleep and physical fitness are the two the biggest things you can do to just take care of mental health on its own, right? So like if you have those things locked down, then I believe going to therapy or doing these other things for mental health, you're starting at a deficit. And so fitness, fine. And for me, it's a mixture of cardio and kettlebells, trying to get some strength training in and some high intensity training in. Try to find a fitness program that you enjoy, that you can stick to. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, hobbies, of course, to whatever extent possible. If you're working at a company, I think it'll be a lot easier to have hobbies. And I really enjoyed playing guitar. Now maybe I'll play once a month. It's just find time to do that, right? I like to climb and slackline and get out on the mountains on a snowboard. But again, I mean, finding the time to be able to do that is really tricky.
You don't have a slack line set up in your warehouse, do you?
Not in the warehouse, but I got one set up in the backyard.
Oh, okay. One of your neighbors who I actually know by your office actually does have a slack line inside his warehouse, and
Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
You'll have to
yeah,
introduce me.
yeah, I will. I will. One of these days I'll head up there and knock on the door. I'll make an appointment and then, we'll do that. But we got a few minutes left. The one thing I want to wrap out with you is that if you could distill your entire journey down to one core belief, one singular directive for every transitioning veteran in the room who needs to write this down or implement this today, what is the one non-negotiable principle of mission ownership that separates a job seeker from a founder and ultimately a successful employee from an indispensable leader?
Resilience. Yeah, resilience. Um, I just think in business, but in life in general, that idea of resilience and it's a muscle, it's a muscle, but trying to get the reps in and taking what you've learned from your military experience and applying that and yeah, taking opportunities to to work that muscle, to get those reps in of resilience. And I'd say stoicism is probably the philosophy that harps on this most. And so, learning a bit about stoicism, looking into that, but trying to think about challenges more so as opportunities and puzzles to be solved. And if you can adopt that frame of mind, I think at least for me, as it's a practice, but as I practice that and when I'm able to you know uh, move through life with that perspective, it makes everything easier and more enjoyable.
I love it. I love it 100%. Not a lot of time left, and quite a few people are interested in maybe coming to join the team. With the minute and 10 seconds we got left, any parting words that you have for us today, sir?
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity to get on here. I learned about Seven Eagle not even a month ago, and here we are, and you giving me the best intro ever, and the questions that you asked as well. I mean, this I really enjoyed this opportunity to chat with you guys, and yeah, hope to hear from some of you. And hopefully this position resonates with you. Maybe somebody that might be able to support us with this position here. But really, just very grateful for this opportunity.
Well, we are grateful for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give Caza a round of applause. Thank you very much for your time. I will try to carve out some time so we're not digitally face to face. I'll come on up there and I'd like to take a tour and see what you got cooking all the way up there in that wonderful little triangle I like to call of Denver. But
That'd be
thank you
great.
very much for your time, Caza Gomis from Trek Systems.